Hey everyone, Foss here. Speedruns are not exactly my thing, but when one of my favorite PokeTubers asked me to take part in a speedrun challenge, how could I possibly say no? Scott's Thoughts has done numerous speedruns of Pokemon Yellow up until this point, and seeing as though I haven't played much Pokemon Yellow in about 20 years, I figured I had my work cut out for me. And this wasn't any old speedrun either. Nope, this time around, we can only use Parasect. The only rules to this challenge is that we had to play at 4x speed, and we couldn't use any cheats or glitches. Except for one that I'll be mentioning a little bit later on. After numerous hours of planning and practicing, let's see just how fast we can beat Pokemon Yellow with only one Parasect. As we start our journey in Pallet Town, I witnessed the professor of the region catch our stutter for this journey. After our rival steals the only Pokemon available in the form of Eevee, we are stuck using our Shroom friend here instead. It is at this point that we have the first big decision to make. The way the rival's team is decided in this game is based on the results of the first fights with them. Losing to the rival in the lab will result in him having Vaporeon, whereas winning this battle will result with him having Flareon instead. There's also the option to get Jolteon if we lose the optional fight on Route 22, but I will be skipping that here. Winning this battle is necessary for my strategy so I can level up to level 6 before moving into the Viridian Forest. It is early in this run that I realize how much more difficult it actually is playing at 4x speed. Every misclick has the potential to cause a huge waste of time, especially jumping over the wrong ledge or running into a random trainer, which can throw off your experience curve throughout the rest of the run. Not only that, but simply making it through these small openings without bumping into the wall is a challenge in itself. After hours of practice, I'm able to get the routing down pretty smoothly so I can make it through Viridian Forest in no time flat. On the way through, I make sure to catch a Pidgey in order to fly later on in the game. As I reach Peter City, I heal up at the Pokemon Center before heading into the gym. I take some time to wipe the Light Years trainer for some extra XP, which brings Parasect to level 11 before taking on Brock. With the lack of solid attacking moves, I have to be strategic in order to make it through this battle without wiping. Geodude is out first, but thanks to not having any rock-type moves in this generation, it went down rather easily and Parasect was able to maintain most of his health thanks to Leech Life. Then came Onix. Anyone that has attempted to use a status move on one of Brock's Pokemon knows that he has access to way too many full heals. So you may be wondering, why am I choosing to use Stun Spore in turn 1? Despite the fact that full heal actually cures paralysis, the slowing effects from paralysis actually remain despite the Pokemon being healed up. In Yellow version, Onix loves to use the move Bide, which could have devastating consequences, or it could be a lifesaver depending on how you look at it. The key here is choosing the right move at the right time, especially once the Rock Snake activates Bide. The slowing effect from paralysis will allow me to choose my moves after Onix uses Bide, therefore allowing me to avoid all damage from this move if I play my cards right. The bad thing about this battle is that Onix loves to use both Screech and Bind as well, so with an unlucky combination of moves, there's a good chance that Parasect could go down. After numerous turns of going back and forth with damage, Parasect finally runs out of Leech Lives, so now it's up to Scratch to finish off the job. With only a sliver of health, I just have to hope that Onix does not use Bind, and it doesn't, as it instead goes for Bide, which gives me a couple free turns to finally take it out and earn us the Boulder Badge. During my practice runs, I was consistently getting through this Brock split at around the 6-minute mark, but surprisingly enough, the most variable portion of this run was coming up next. Between Pewter City and Cerulean City lies a few mandatory battles that were increasingly frustrating to take on the more and more I did these runs. The first of which is this youngster on Route 3 and his Ekans. With access to Leer, Wrap, and the super effective Poison Sting, I had to get lucky and have Ekans use at least one Leer during this battle to actually take it out. If it happened to land 2 straight Poison Strings or a Wrap followed by a Poison Sting, Parasect would go down and I'd have to restart the run in order to maintain a competitive time. Then there was Mount Moon, which went fairly well, most of the time. There was the occasional loss to Zubat thanks to me hitting myself in Confusion 3 times in a row or the terrible Disable luck against the Fossil Maniac, but other than that, the only real challenge here is which Fossil to choose. And we all know that the Helix Fossil is actually the correct choice. Nah, but really, Team Rocket does have the potential to be a difficult fight, especially when Coffin chooses to actually use Smog. This time around, this battle goes rather smoothly, as Ekans goes down to a couple of Leech Lives right away. Meowth goes down, but it is able to get off a Growl to drop our attack before Coughing comes out. And with Coughing, again, we have to get lucky with its move choices here. But everything does go as planned as it uses only one Smog, so after a couple more turns, we have defeated Team Rocket for the first time. Next up is Cerulean City, and there are a couple of choices to make here. Do we take on the gym first, or do we head towards Nugget Bridge to fight a rival yet again? The rival battle can be very difficult at this level, and thanks to Parasect knowing Leech Life, Starmie shouldn't be much of an issue here. Misty's entire team really won't be a challenge in this gym. Nope, the true challenge lies in the hands of this junior trainer and her Goldean. Who would have thought that a Goldean of all things would cause so much trouble? You see, Goldeen has access to Supersonic, which has the potential to confuse us, as well as Peck, a super effective flying type move that this fish for some reason knows, which deals some devastating damage to Parasect when it lands. I'm not gonna lie, I had attempts where I would lose this battle 8 times in a row due to her Goldeen using nothing but Peck. The only real consistency came when I could get off a stun spore and hope that paralysis kicked in at least a couple times throughout the fight. After all this planning though, we had this attempt here where Goldeen didn't use Peck even once. How did we get this lucky? Not only that, but it did miss Supersonic multiple times and lost a couple turns due to paralysis. But going into the fight against Misty without a reset is definitely a win for me. Like I said before, Misty isn't really a threat. I can serve Leech Life PP by only using Scratch to take out Staryu. As Starmie comes out, I switch to Leech Life, but an X-Defend and a few Hardens from Starmie really slows down this battle. Parasect finally takes it out, but we don't have quite enough PP to carry on, so I make a pit stop to heal up and then grab ourselves the rare candy before taking on a rival for the second time. This is another battle that can really make or break this run, and possibly one of the last challenging fights for quite some time. Our rival leads off with Spearow, which of course has Peck that deals massive damage, but also has Growl to lower our attack, making the rest of this battle even more difficult. Couple that with the fact that Sandshrew loves to use Sand Attack and this battle becomes quite a brutal undertaking. Even despite Eevee's terrible move choices, it eventually is able to take Parasect down, handing us the first reset of the challenge. Attempt number 2 goes much better as Spearow uses only Fury Attack and a Leer to lower our defense before going down. Sandshrew doesn't get off a single Sand Attack before it too goes down, so at this point we're looking pretty dang good. Rattata is able to deal some solid damage with Hyper Fang, but thanks to Leech Life, I'm able to recover some HP before it goes down, so now only Eevee remains. It chooses to lower our attack and accuracy right away, setting up for the long game. Luckily, Parasect is able to land a crit hit on turn 1 for some massive damage. After wiping the sand from its eyes, or whatever these things are, our mushroom friend is able to land one more scratch to take it out. Thanks to that high accuracy throughout this fight, we're able to continue down the Nugget Bridge without returning to the Poke Center to heal up first. At the end of the bridge, I can grab a Charmander from this gentleman here, which will be necessary for a couple of HMs down the road. Also behind this hiker is a hidden item for Elixir. Since this is a mandatory fight anyways, it's worthwhile grabbing this item to restore some PP to save yet another trip to the Poke Center. So long as we avoid any rock-type Pokemon throughout this section, Parasect can easily clear the route without any issues. So after grabbing the SS ticket from Bill, I head back to Cerulean City to heal up my Pokemon before taking on this Team Rocket member. Although this is an easy fight, I feel that this is worth mentioning since winning this battle rewards us with Dig, which will come in handy during the next section of the challenge. The SSN is up next on the things to do, and this holds a couple necessary items for the challenge. In the 4th room on the left, we find the TM for Body Slam, which I use to replace Scratch before moving on. A little further down the way, we can fight our way to another rare candy before taking on a rival yet again. There really isn't much to say here. Body Slam is way too overpowered for this point of the game, so our rival's team went down rather quickly to the power of our Shroom's belly. After grabbing the HM for Cut, I immediately head into the gym to take on Surge without even stopping by the Pokemon Center. Thanks to an app that we're using for this particular challenge called Game Hook, the trash can puzzle, which is usually a nightmare to solve, has already been solved as we enter the door. We make our way directly to the Lieutenant himself, who for some reason only has a single Raichu on his team. Like, don't get me wrong, Raichu is pretty sweet, but one Pokemon? Really? The only real threat that Raichu has is Thunderbolt, which can deal some major damage and has the potential to paralyze. At this level, Raichu will definitely outspeed, so I need to hope that I don't get paralyzed. Luckily, if it doesn't go for Thunderbolt, it will choose the inaccurate Mega Kick or Mega Punch. So after missing these, Dig is able to take it out with a single shot, earning us the Thunder Badge. Outside the gym, you can talk with Officer Jenny, who will give you a Squirtle if you show her the Thunder Badge. This is another useful addition to the team, as we'll be using it for surfing later on. Oh, I also forgot to mention that I did grab the bike voucher from the chairman earlier, so with that in hand, I make my way towards Diglett Cave. This might seem like a weird route to take, but since I haven't used any Poke Center in Vermilion City, I'm able to use Dig to teleport back to the last Poke Center I used, which is all the way back in Cerulean City. I can then make my way to the bike shop to grab myself the bicycle before heading east. I still have plenty of PP remaining in order to make it through this route before finally having to heal up at the Poke Center just outside of Dark Cave. I chose not to grab Flash as it seems like a complete waste of time, and instead I chose to memorize the entire inside of the cave so I could only fight the necessary trainers as I go through. The only real threats in here are the hikers who have Geodudes and Gravelers, which love to randomly self-destruct. This has the potential to put a real damper in your run if it actually manages to land. Upon fighting the final trainer of the cave, Parasect levels up to 30 and learns the move Spore. This is a 100 accuracy move that will put the opponent's Pokemon to sleep. I think you can see why this might be necessary for the rest of the challenge. Before taking on Erica, I head into the Celadon department store to grab myself a fresh water, a few Carbos to raise our speed, and 2 Pokedolls. Why the Pokedolls, you might ask? Well, you'll see in the near future. After loading up Parasect with what I assume is a toxic amount of vitamins, I head into Erica's gym to take her on. She leads off with Tangela, who is really only here to delay this battle as long as possible through the use of Bind. This time around though, it goes for Constrict on turn 1 before Parasect puts it to sleep with Spore. I then spend the next couple of turns chipping away with Leech Life as Tangela literally sleeps its life away. Weeping Bell is out next, and it hits us with this super effective acid for some major damage, while also dropping our defense in the process. Parasect is able to put it to sleep though, so a couple of Leech Lives is able to take it out while recovering some health in the process. Gloom is all that remains, but thanks to the 3 Carbos that we used earlier, we're able to outspeed it and put it to sleep on turn 1. A couple of Leech Lives takes it out as well, so with that, we are halfway through the gym challenge. Lavender City Tower is up next on our things to do, so after sacrificing that fresh water that we had purchased earlier to the parched guards, we make our way through Saffron until we arrive at the tower to take on our rival yet again. The only threat that he has this time around is a Fearow that he leads off with. After the first couple of practice runs, I realized that Fearow is only going to be using Mirror Move on turn 1, so if I lead with Spore to put it to sleep, then the rest of the battle is easy. Body Slam again decimates the remainder of his team, so after only a few seconds, our rival now had more Pokemon to visit in the tower. You're welcome. The remainder of this tower involves battling a few Chancellors, which honestly isn't too bad as long as you don't get confused by their Ghastly. Which I'm not gonna lie, has happened to me a few too many times. Exhibit A. Yep, a stupid Ghastly was the cause of our second reset. That's frustrating, but knowing that this has happened before, I chose to save prior to taking on this part of the challenge. What happens next is the only cheat that I'm allowed to use in this run, and it involves the Pokedoll that we purchased earlier. If you interact with the ghost of the Cubone's mother here, you won't be able to identify it unless you have access to the Sylph Scope. However, if you happen to use a Pokedoll during this battle to flee, the game treats it as if you just defeated the ghost, and therefore you're able to move on. Using this glitch allows us to completely skip the Team Rocket hideout portion of this game, which I'm not gonna lie, would be a nightmare to traverse at 4 times speed. After defeating Team Rocket and saving Mr. Fuji, I'm gifted with the Poke Flute before I make my way back to Sylph Company. This is the location of a couple important items. First up is TMO3 on floor 7, which contains Swords Dance. I immediately use this to replace Leech Life, before heading up a few more floors to grab another Carbos and a rare candy, and from there I dig my way out of Sylph Company and back to Celadon City. I make one more pit stop by the department store for a few more drugs, which I force feed to Parasect to make it fast as f***. I make sure to grab the HM for Fly, as well as the hidden rare candy on Bicycle Road before I make my way to Fuchsia City. Before heading into the gym, I traverse through the Safari Zone until I obtain the Golden Teeth and the HM for Surf. I then dig my way out of there and end up back at Celadon City. Oops. Well, luckily I have the Fly HM, which I can teach the Pidgey and get back to Fuchsia City in no time flat. It's here that we have to take on the next toughest battle of the challenge, Koga. This is the first battle in the wild that we actually have had to strategize for. His team consists of 3 Venomoths and a Venomoth, all of which have access to Toxic, of course. If I'm not able to outspeed, Toxic will land and I will not have enough time to set up a Swords Dance before going down. After using all those Carbos and a couple of rare candies, Parasect's speed reaches 52, which allows us to outspeed the first Venonat that he sends out. Let's see how this goes. I actually didn't do this intentionally this time around, but I arrive at this battle pre-poisoned, effectively rendering Toxic useless. This was a strategy that I thought about prior, but it was too inconsistent to be reliable. As expected, Parasect outspeeds Venonat on turn 1 to put it to sleep, but it awakens immediately. Another Spore puts it back to sleep, and now it's time to set up Swords Dance until I'm at max attack. If you pay close attention to the stats at the bottom left, you might notice that our defense is rising as well as the attack stat while we're using Swords Dance. This is a quirky glitch that has been termed the Badge Boost glitch, and it will come in handy during this run. The way it works is that each badge gives a specific stat a boost by a factor of 9/8. When a stat is modified in battle, the game recalculates the stat based off the unboosted value, which then applies all the badge boosts afterwards. This means that all other stats get an extra copy of their badge boost each time a specific stat is modified. The stacked badge boosts go away whenever the stat is recalculated, meaning whenever the stat is modified, you level up or the battle actually ends. Thanks to all these boosts and a whopping 441 attack at this point, Body Slam is able to decimate the remainder of Koga's team with ease. As we earn the Soul Badge, you'll notice that an icon appears next to our speed, which means that we are now able to apply the badge boost to speed as well. From there, we make our way back to Sylph Company to finish off that storyline. I continue to hold off on using Mega Drain this time around, despite this being a solid move choice against the majority of our rival's team. I instead use a rare candy to bring Parasect to level 40 before heading into battle. Thanks to our increased speed, we are again able to put Sandslash to sleep on turn 1 before stacking a few Swords Dances. With each successive Swords Dance, our speed and defense climb higher and higher as well. So by the time the Sandslash goes down, we are sitting pretty with our boosted speed stat. This allows us to outspeed the next few Pokemon, so Cloyster, Magneton, and Kadabra all go down to a single shot. But thanks to the XP from these battles, Parasect levels up, therefore resetting our speed to 63. This is actually a speed tie with Flareon, who moves first this time around and chooses his best move, Flamethrower, to drop Parasect with a single shot. Wow, that was going so smoothly up until that point, but luckily I saved just before this fight, so the next time around, I move first as Flareon comes out. So a single shot from Dig was able to take out the Fire Doggo with just a single shot. This is literally a 50-50 chance of losing. If it lands Fire Spin instead of Flamethrower, there's still a good chance that I won't survive, so my only hope of winning here is to actually outspeed it. After wiping the floor with what remains of Team Rocket, I do something that's kinda strange here. I again use Dig to exit Sylph Company. This brings me all the way back to the Poke Center, and this is the weird mechanic that comes up in a few different buildings in this game, and it can be a real time saver. I then head up north to use the second pokedoll I purchased to get the TM for Mimic from the Copycat Girl. This again will come in handy later on in the challenge, but I'll mention it when the time comes. The last few batches of this run are all brutally difficult for Parasect. It just happens to be weak to 2 out of the 3 gym leaders that I have remaining. Currently being at the 40-minute mark here with only 3 resets, this run is looking pretty good so far. Let's see if we can keep that up. Sabrina's up next, and she too isn't much of a threat, so long as Abra doesn't land numerous flashes. Abra is always going to outspeed us, so there's no chance that I could have done anything different here to actually outspeed this, so I just have to hope for the best. It of course goes for Flash on turn 1, but it actually fails. That's the best case scenario, as I'm now able to put Abra to sleep with Spore before starting to stack Swords Dances. It sleeps long enough to get my attack to +6 before I take it out with Body Slam. Kadabra's up next, and it still outspeeds despite these badge boosts, so it's able to land a Kinesis to lower my accuracy before 2 going down. Alakazam is all that remains, and Sabrina chooses to use an X defense on turn 1, but I miss a Body Slam in the process. It then goes for Reflect on the next turn, and now I'm worried. Not only do I now have the chance to miss, but Alakazam also has an extremely buffed defense, which means if Body Slam does actually land, it might not actually take it out. Alakazam then pulls out the super effective Psy Wave to deal some huge damage. I really need Body Slam to land here, and it does just that, taking Alakazam out and earning us the Marsh Badge. Wasting no time at all, I fly back to Pallet Town and surf south until I arrive at Cinnabar Island. It's here that I make my way through the Pokemon Mansion until I arrive at the final room where I grab myself a couple rare candies as well as the secret key to the gym. This fight against Blaine took a lot of planning to finally come up with an effective strategy, one that relies only on one lucky turn throughout the entire battle. So after force feeding some candy to my pet Mushroom, I head into the fight against Blaine at level 48. He leads off with Ninetales, and this is where I need some luck on my side. If Ninetales lands a Flamethrower, then it's game over. If it misses or uses another attack such as Tail Whip like you see here, then we're set for the remainder of the battle. Why is this? You see, the reason I chose level 48 for this battle is because this is when Parasect learns Growth. Remember how I talked about that badge boost glitch earlier? Well, with Growth instead of Swords Dance, we're now able to boost our stats 3 extra times since Growth only raises our stats by 1 level each time it's used. Swords Dance on the other hand would raise our stats by 2 levels each time, so I only get 3 total. As Ninetales snoozes away, I take the time to stack 6 growths until we have Parasect speed and attack at the highest point possible. With his speed all the way up at 147, we are able to easily outspeed both the Rapidash and the Arcanine that are out next, therefore allowing us to day our way to another victory. Yet again, this battle went extremely well this time around, but I really can't say the same for the numerous attempts I had previous to this. From here, I immediately fly back to Viridian City to take on the next gym of our challenge. Giovanni's team consists of ground-type Pokemon who have the potential to deal some real damage. Let's see how it goes. He leads off with Dugtrio, who of course has access to the move Fissure, a one-hit KO move that is going to land 30% of the time so long as the user outspeeds the other Pokemon. Giovanni instead chooses to use Guard Spec on turn 1 as I put it to sleep with Spore. I then stack a couple of Growths, but as Dugtrio wakes up, I choose to instead take it out with Mega Drain, knowing that the XP from this battle would cause Parasect to level up, and therefore resetting that badge boost. Persian is up next, and it does some damage with Fury Swipes before I'm able to put it to sleep. I am then able to maximize Growths before proceeding to take it down. The remainder of Giovanni's team is now an easy one-hit KO thanks to our buffed attack and special, so after a few more seconds, we've earned the final badge of the Kanto region. Every battle up to this point has a reason, and the main reason is to allow me to arrive at this next fight at a very specific level. This fight against my rival can be brutally difficult for Parasect, so we need to do everything perfectly. He leads off with Sand Slash, and I immediately go for Mega Drain instead of buffing any of my stats. And then hits me with a super effective Poison Sting for some decent damage while poisoning me in the process. One more Mega Drain takes it out, and the experience from this battle brings Parasect to level 51. This is the reason why I did not stack any growths against Sand Slash, as they would have been reset following this battle. Execute was out next, and I put it to sleep before proceeding to stack 4 growths. These dang eggs just would not stay asleep though. And with my health trickling down thanks to poison, I had no other choice but to finish it off and continue on with only 4 growths under my belt. Cloister goes down to a single Mega Drain, so Magneton is out next. It is able to get off some damage thanks to Swift, which can of course hit me while I'm underground, but it too eventually goes down. Kadabra is out next and survives a Mega Drain, but thanks to my extremely buff special stat, Stay Kick does next to nothing before another Mega Drain takes it out. Flareon is all that remains, but thanks to the XP from Kadabra, Parasect levels up to 52 and that speed boost is reset yet again. Flareon is now able to outspeed, but again Parasect hangs on thanks to its extremely buff special, so it's able to take it out with a dig on the next turn, securing us that final victory. From here, the end is in sight, but I might have failed to mention that there are numerous others partaking in this challenge as well, and I know a few of them had completed this run in under an hour, so that's my goal here. I have had numerous runs that ran around that 1 hour and 10 minute mark while practicing, but would this actually be that run that breaks the 1 hour mark? Let's find out. After dumping all my Pokemon on the PC and feeding a very strategic rare candy to Parasect to bring it to level 53, we head into the final battles of the Elite Four to show the world what our Shroom friend can actually do. Lorelei is up first, and thanks to her team being all ice types, any hit that lands could be devastating. She leads off with Dugong, who despite having full health, goes for rest on turn 1. Classic. I instead put it to sleep and start to stack growths while it snoozes. After maximizing the badge boost here, I proceed to wipe through the remainder of Lorelei's team like they're nothing. Cloister and Slowbro go down to a single Mega Drain each. I choose to use Dig on Jinx instead, which too goes down to a single shot. Lapras is all that remains and is able to tank a Mega Drain with only a sliver of health remaining, but a retroactive Super Potion heals a bit of health before another Dig takes it out, securing us the first victory of the challenge. I'm not sure if this Super Potion really made that big of a difference here, Lorelei. You should maybe just move on to the full restores at this point. You may have noticed the Parasect level up following the Lapras fight. Yep, thanks to that rare candy that we used prior to Lorelei, Parasect will be leveling up following each Elite Four member now, therefore allowing us to maximize the badge boost glitch throughout each battle. You should be able to see why this is important. Bruno is up next, and he is the meme of Generation 1 for a reason. I don't even want to spend that much time on this other than to show you how devastating a +6 Mega Drain can actually be. I'm honestly surprised that Machamp was actually able to hang on here, and not only that, it was able to deal some solid damage with a crit hit Karate Chop. But other than that, the rest of the team was a breeze. The same cannot be said for Agatha though. She leads off with Gengar, but this is not what I'm really worried about. Nope, what I'm actually worried about is the Golbat that she switches into next. Being that the only attack moves I have are Mega Drain, which is not very effective, and Dig, which isn't effective at all, this is going to be an annoying one to deal with. After putting it to sleep and maximizing growths, I'm eventually able to take out the bat with a few Mega Drains. The remainder of Agatha's team is weak to ground, so needless to say, but Dig will be more than enough to handle each and every one of her remaining Pokemon. Following that battle against Agatha, I feed Parasect one more rare candy, and this is also the point where I'll be putting Mimic to use, and you'll see why shortly. After restoring a bit more PP, it's time to head into battle against Dragon Trainer Lance. He leads off with a non-dragon type Flying Sea Snake, and I immediately put it to sleep on turn 1. But not before it gets off a Leer to lower my defense. I then spend the time to maximize growth yet again before finally taking the Gyarados out with a few Mega Drains. Then comes Dragonair, and this one has Thunder Wave, so I have to put it to sleep on turn 1 to avoid the paralysis from that. A couple of Mega Drains takes it out, but another Dragonair is out next. I again put it to sleep, but this is actually where I'm going to be putting Mimic to use, as I copy Ice Beam before taking it out. Having access to this move is going to make the remainder of this battle a cakewalk, especially since the boosted speed stat will allow me to move before any of the remaining monsters. As Dragonite goes down, Parasect reaches level 58, and with only 4 minutes remaining until that 1 hour mark, we cannot screw this up now. After feeding Parasect the only elixir I had left, I save the game and make my way into the final battle of our journey. Our rival leads off with Sand Slash, which outspeeds and hits with Poison Sting, but it actually doesn't poison us this time around, and we're able to put it to sleep with Spore. I then start stacking growths to boost my stats across the board, and thanks to the boosted speed, I'm able to put Sand Slash right back to sleep once it wakes up. I then remember to use Mimic to learn Earthquake before finally dropping it with a Mega Drain to bring us back to full health. Alakazam is out next, but we outspeed, so we're able to take it out with a single Earthquake, bringing out Executor instead. This one will not go down easily, so I instead put it to sleep on turn 1 before getting in that one last growth and then chipping away at it with Mega Drain until it eventually goes down. Magneton is out next and goes down to a single Earthquake, but the XP from this battle results in Parasect leveling up to 59, therefore resetting our boosted stats. That is not good, but there's really no way to get around this. Cloyster outspeeds and hits with Ice Beam, which luckily doesn't freeze us, so Mega Drain is able to take it out and restores us back to max health in the process. Flareon is now all that remains, but it outspeeds and lands a Flamethrower, so with that, the game is over. Or is it? Not all of our stats have been reset, so our +6 special allows us to hang on, so I go for Spore, which will give me some extra time if I need it. And I do, as Earthquake only brings it down to a sliver of health. Flareon then stays asleep for the next turn, so one more Earthquake takes it out. As it goes down, this secures us the victory over the champion of the region and earns us our spot in the Hall of Fame. With an in-game time of 3 hours and 41 minutes and a real time of 57 minutes and 42 seconds, this run went much better than I ever thought it would have when I first started preparing for this challenge. Thanks again to Scott's Thoughts for inviting me to be part of this challenge, and I can't wait to do another one in the future. If you somehow are not already following Scott's content, go check him out in the link in the description below. By the time this video comes out, his challenge video featuring all the best times for this challenge will likely already be up, so of course go check that out. But that's gonna do it for today's video. If you like this video, please let me know in the comments below. Also remember to leave a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like this in the near future. I'm really not sure how many more speedruns I'm gonna do this intensely, but if I get some solid feedback, maybe I'll do more in the future. But for now, I'm gonna be keeping some variety in the video releases as I continue to do some more solo challenges going forward. If there are any specific challenges you'd like to see, let me know down below. But until next time, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.